Good. So welcome, Michelle and Deanna, and thank you so much for being on my Empowerment Series talks. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
We're like talking like twins.
Well, that's okay. That's definitely okay. So we talk a lot about people's business journeys, and we're even also asked whether, you know, your entrepreneurial spirit started, you know, were you born with it, or did you become entrepreneurial as an adult? But I want to delve into empowerment and where that started for people. I know for myself, it didn't start as a child. It has become that way more as an adult. So yeah, I'd love to learn more about you. But yeah, let's talk first about your business journey. You have both achieved so much, and Michelle, you had an amazing background with media. Your family were highly successful in that zone. You had your own fashion label in New Zealand. You've even started a lifestyle brand called High Class Hippie.
Yeah.
And now you've developed this digital marketing agency. So my gosh, your achievements are extreme. And then Deanna, a professional performer. Oh my gosh. Maybe you have to sing us a tune later on.
Yes.
So SEO and digital marketing strategist. You've got your own very successful vocal coach business. And now you're co-CEO with Michelle in Unicorn Empire Media. So I'd love to know how you two came together to establish your new agency. And I'd love to know where you came up with the name Unicorn Empire Media. So Michelle, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. So I've obviously got a background in business over many years, and Deanna and I actually started working together on her vocal studio. I was her business coach for about 4 years, so that's how we met. And then she came to my retreats and things like that, and so we always kept in touch, and you know, then became friends. And so as my company evolved, I've got a personal brand and I do a lot of things on social media and a lot of coaching and stuff like that. And as it evolved, I found that some of my clients were needing to have the services that I did for my business in terms of digital marketing. And so that's when I created the agency, and that was a couple of years ago now.
Right.
And so that sort of evolved. And then I was out to lunch with Deanna last year, and we were just chatting, and you know, she got her company to an amazing place where she's got all these vocal coaches, and she doesn't need to be there doing the coaching anymore. And so she's stepped out of the business to work on the business, and it sort of freed up a lot of her time. And she was like, well, I'm kind of looking for something else to do. I don't know what it is. And I was actually thinking at the time, I had just created all the roles of all the people that I needed to fill to scale my agency. And as we got talking, Deanna filled one of those roles and I started thinking, oh, this would be a really great partnership. Someone that I know, someone that I trust, someone I know that's got the skills, and someone that's fun and that I would just generally love to hang out with on a daily basis, regardless of whether we work together or not.
Yep.
And so that's how things sort of came together, and now we work together, and yeah, it's amazing.
And
loving it.
We do have a lot of fun.
We do.
We keep up.
Yeah, you're very fortunate to have found each other, because that is really gold. You know, it is difficult to find that perfect match, shall we call it, in business. So yeah, congratulations, that's amazing. So Deanna, explain the name.
Oh, actually, I might have to hand that back to Michelle. I mean, Michelle loves unicorns, really.
Yeah.
So,
well, actually, I don't think I loved unicorns as much as everyone else thought that I loved unicorns, and everyone's just associated them with me. I guess I must have referenced it a few times over the years, and then when I was thinking about a name for the agency, I wanted I wanted Unicorn Media, because I just thought that would be cool. And that wasn't available. So I thought, well, we're growing an empire here. We'll put an empire in there. So Unicorn Empire Media.
Yeah, fantastic. And you're right, that word empire does mean you know, you're going, your dream, your goal is to be an empire. So yeah, I love it. That's fantastic. Were you given plenty of those blow up pool unicorn toys, were you, growing up?
Maybe, I don't know. I honestly don't know where it came from. All of a sudden it was here, the unicorn thing, and it stuck.
Yeah, no, you've been associated with, like, I associated you with liking unicorns. So when it was like Unicorn Empire Media, I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, also, I guess it works in another way. I mean, we are helping other unicorns to build their empires.
Yeah, and actually what a unicorn is in the business sense is companies that scale to over $1 billion. So, you know,
yeah, they
kind of fitting. We're here to scale, help scale businesses and help them to grow and leverage the internet and, you know, get more leads through the work that we do with them. So, you know, who knows? We might be making unicorns all over the place.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I did spot a blow up one in one of your images on Instagram. So sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds really, really fantastic. So let's get into the empowerment side of this. And firstly, look, I like the dictionary.com's definition, and it says it's a process of becoming stronger and more confident. But what is your definition? I believe we all have our own definition of empowerment. So Deanna, do you want to start?
I can start with that. I guess for me, empowerment really is the process where we realize over the years that we are in fact sovereign and that we have the right to choose and create a life in any which way we want. To be empowered is to realize that we're not a victim of circumstance, and we do have the power to change it, but we need to know that first. And even though we might have been through challenging times and had things happen in our lives that potentially, you know, were not our fault, we can always take empowerment in the way that we react to those situations and the meaning that we give them, and using them to learn lessons and for good moving forward, and to really turn that into something that, is useful, I guess. And so empowerment for me is just realizing that everything actually, to a certain degree, everything is in my control. And so I am empowered, then I can steer the vehicle however I want to.
Fantastic. And what about you, Michelle?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of similar, and that's why I guess we get along. We've got a similar mindset around a lot of these things. But for me specifically, I guess empowerment is like we do have the right to choose and to make our decisions we have how many thousands of thoughts a day. And in every moment we get to choose, is that going to be an empowering thought or is that going to be a disempowering thought? And is that decision or that choice or that thought or that emotion going to move us closer to the goals that we want to have in our life, the things that we want to achieve, or is it moving us away from? And so we have to have that self-observation and the ability to see ourselves from like the observer, so we can determine what decisions we are making, and is it an empowering one, something that moves us forward, something that excites us, something that inspires us, something that makes you want to get out of bed every day. You know, and I'm actually an empowerment coach as well. So, you know, I help people to feel that and to make those decisions and to make those choices in their life that move them forward to, I guess, a positive existence that they would like to create for themselves.
Because that's true, isn't it? It's not just you feeling empowered in yourself, it's about inspiring others to feel empowered too. And that's a little bit where I want to go with this, because where did it actually start? They say it's a process. So where did this process start? And did it start in your childhood? So firstly, I mean, that's the other thing. Is empowerment, you know, a physical thing? Is it an emotional thing? And as a child, we didn't say, I feel empowered, because back then I didn't even know the word existed, quite frankly. But the younger ones probably do these days. I'll certainly be teaching my granddaughter. So, but yeah, as a child in your household, and let me know, you know, do you have siblings and where you fit into the line of that? How many siblings, and youngest or eldest? And did you have feelings of empowerment as a child?
Okay.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, in terms of the siblings thing, I'm the eldest. I have a younger sister. So there was the two of us growing up. I had what you would class as a very strict upbringing, traditional Italian family. And so my journey to empowerment was, starting from quite a back foot, to be honest with you, because I was raised in an environment where, and I know that it was, the best knowledge and understanding that my parents had at the time, but I was raised in an environment where women were secondary to some degree. And so my role was always to learn how to be a good housewife, and to get married, which I did. I got married young at 22, and I'm now divorced. I was married for 8 years. And to do all of the things that ticked all the boxes with the house and the kids and the marriage, and that was kind of where my role was. But unfortunately enough for my dad, who made most of these decisions based on his upbringing, obviously, he made one little mistake, and that was sending me to an all-girls school. I went to a very, very well, high-paid, very classy all-girls school in Adelaide, where I'm from. And one of the things about being in an all-girls school was that there's a lot of focus on women's social justice. And so for me, I began that process of being educated as part of the curriculum on the oppression of women throughout history, and the different cultural standards and expectations that potentially played a part in those, variations of women. And I went, wow, I've been brought up in somewhat of an environment that reflects this, and the oppression of women, and I know what it's like to feel oppressed. And so from recognizing that feeling like, just because I'm born a woman, it means that a woman, I have to be like this. I went, no, I don't actually. I was struggling with that my whole life. Like, nothing sat right to me, watching my boy cousins play while the female cousins had to help the parents with the dishes and, things like that. And so I realized that I could change that. And then I started that process, and that led me to being empowered myself as a woman. It led me to doing a lot of charity work to help women in Sierra Leone, West Africa, to send them back to school, where she's more likely to be sexually assaulted than she is to attend high school. And in more recent years, it's led me to become the animal rights activist that I am as well. And now I'm a delegate and on the state committee for the Animal Justice Party, and I ran in the federal election for animals and the oppression in that area as well. So it's been quite a big journey for me, to cut it short.
And so it's interesting that you began your journey really at school. So it wasn't in the home, it was at school. And yeah, I'm an Australian. I was raised Australian, but I'm older than you. But my home life was actually quite similar to yours, but I was the youngest. Yeah. So we've got established that your journey of empowerment was really at school, high school. Yeah.
High school was where it all changed.
Yeah, and there he was thinking you were at an all-girls school. You're going to be a good girl.
Was anything but.
Okay. And what about you, Michelle?
I think I've just grown up in an environment where, like, my parents were always very encouraging of me, and I think that I was sort of born to be someone who was outside of the box. Like, I went to a same private all-girls school, and I didn't fit into the box there. So I remember my mum told me once she went to a parent-teacher interview, and the teacher sat her down, and I was off in the corner, playing with the toys and being creative or drawing or something. And she said, "Mrs. Wilson, at this school, we breed doctors, lawyers, and accountants, and Michelle will be none of those." And my mum was like, "What?" And it wasn't until I got to, I think it was like 12 or 13, where we got electives at school. And that's when I discovered creative subjects. And so I was always encouraged to do what I loved and do what I was good at. And when I found the creative side of life, in terms of education, that's when I really started to excel. And then once that sort of evolved, then I got into design school. I did a 4-year degree, and I then moved on to doing my own business. So I always sort of knew, as I got older and started going through my education that I wanted to start a business, and it was going to be fashion, and I was going to be, on the biggest stages in the world. I was going to have all these fashion shows. It was going to be amazing. And I actually succeeded in doing that to the limits within my country, New Zealand, even though it's small. It was on, big stage of the world in terms of innovation and design. So I did 4 years consecutive in New Zealand Fashion Week, and I had amazing sponsorship deals. I had stockists throughout the country. I had 3 stores of my own. So I always knew that that's what I was going to do. And I've never really fit into a job. I am the most terrible employee, absolutely terrible. So
yeah, but it sounds like your mum encouraged. She didn't say, well, Michelle, you've got to be a doctor, lawyer, accountant. She actually encouraged you as a child to do what you love to do.
And also my father, he always used to say PMA, 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 positive mental attitude, and he just instilled that in me, feed it into my little brain my whole life. And he was always come, what's that?
What a lesson. That's a fantastic.
Yeah. And he would always come to my school sports and anything that I was doing, and he would always get me to think outside of what the confinements were of my own mind of what I could achieve. And I would always achieve more because of that. And so I started as I got older, getting really curious about that, the power of the mind. And when you actually put your mindset on something, it's amazing when you say, okay, well, I'm going to go for first. And, and that's what I'm striving for, instead of, oh yeah, I'll land somewhere in the, mediocrity of life. And when you set your sights on that, even if you don't get first, you'll get far further than if you set your sights lower.
Yeah.
And, I've experienced that through school, and I went to this high school to do my final year. And because I hadn't been that academic, I was more, the creative. I went to the school, and in New Zealand at the time, 17 years old, last year of school, it was called bursary. And so you get an A, B or C or whatever. And I remember having a meeting with the dean, and he, just to get accepted into the school. And he said, oh, what do you hope to get for your bursary? And I said, oh, C would be great. I just want to pass. And he goes, how about we settle for an A, and we'll see where you get to. And I ended up getting an A bursary. And for one of my subjects, I got 1% off a scholarship. I was 11th in the country. It was so annoying. I was like, should I go back for a remark? No. So it's amazing the mindset that when you put that on yourself, I was like, okay, I'll head for an A, and then to see where you get to. And
so you did have really positive influences.
I'm very fortunate. Yeah.
In your childhood. So yeah, you are so fortunate, and I'm glad you realised that. So how were they? Do you think empowerment is an emotional thing or a physical thing? How does it present for you? Let's talk about your childhood first. Deanna, at school, when they spoke about these oppressions and things, and you felt you could be better than that, you're not going to go down that same path, did you actually have a sense of an emotional feeling or a physical feeling that made you think, no, that's not going to be me, I'm going to do better than that? How does empowerment sit for you? Has it changed from childhood to adulthood?
It's definitely changed over time, because you get better and better at sitting in empowerment. In terms of being emotional, physical, I'd say it's one and the same, to be honest with you, because we know that motion creates emotion, not the other way around. So we do have a choice in the body to actually, change our physical state of being. And by doing that, we will change our emotion as a result of that. But I think empowerment, feeling empowered in a positive way is one side of the spectrum. I also think that you can be empowered by feeling down and releasing things, and, just kind of going through a period in your life where you're just like, okay, I got some emotional stuff to deal with, and I'm going to be empowered to let myself be a woman and to go through those emotions. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to pick myself back up and I'm going to be strong again. So even feeling down from time to time or not having things go your way, that can be empowering, even if it doesn't necessarily have the same physical stance as what we, I guess, envision empowerment to look like on a person. So yes, obviously, to answer your question, whether it's physical or emotional, for me, I think it's both. I think you need a mixture. You'll be a mixture of both at any point in time. So
yeah, and Michelle, what is it for you? Like for me, when I feel empowered, I stand taller. You know, I stand taller. I walk better. Yeah, just my whole body feels better. So
yeah, I think, yeah, I agree. Like if I'm in a state of empowerment, I will hold myself differently. It feels different in your body as well as being physical. And I agree, it's one and the same, the physical and the emotional. But yeah, for me personally, I would probably hold myself differently. I would speak differently. And, you know, sometimes when I actually have to go and do a challenging thing, whether that's, you know, be in a position where I'm not as comfortable, like maybe speaking on stage in front of thousands, hundreds of people, you can go and have that, you know, that mental prep or that chat to yourself, either just mentally or in front of the mirror. And when you tell yourself positive things and big yourself up, like you can do this, and you know, there's a message that's coming through you that people need to hear, or this is going to magically change someone's life by whatever it is that comes through you that you say. And if you say all of these things, it really gives you that sense of empowerment and encouragement within yourself. So then you stand taller, then you go out on that stage and you present even better. The knees are less shaky, and you know, you're not as sweaty and nervous when you actually have that confidence in yourself and have those empowering conversations. You really function differently.
Sorry, Michelle. So do you feel your childhood influenced your ability to feel empowered as an adult?
Yes, 100%. I think, I mean, from all of the study that I've done to have me be the coach that I am, I know that a lot of our beliefs and values and the way that we see the world has been determined by the age we're 2 or 3 years old. So how a child is taught, held, responded to, talked to, all of those things, like the emotion around that person, the relationships around them, the people around them, all of those contribute to how that child is then going to evolve into an adult. And if those relationships, where they've been talked to, where they've been held, where they've been communicated with, have been negative or disempowering, then of course that's going to relate to how they show up later on in life, because those are the beliefs that they have in their mind of what life is like.
Yeah. And for you, Deanna, you had a different experience from Michelle, and we actually had similar experiences. So have you had to work harder at the ability to feel empowered as an adult?
I mean, I think I personally think that regardless of, you know, how Michelle was brought up, she still made a choice to stay in empowerment. And I think it's the same for us. Yes, we would have had to work harder, for sure, because it got to a certain point in time where I started to study a lot of the same things that Michelle has studied, and we share interest in these areas as well. And I realized that at that point in time, I was going to make a choice to retrain that habit. So the difference is that Michelle, from a young age, developed really healthy habits around this. I, not so much. Although, granted, somehow for me, and it's not the same for everyone, I know, but there was always something in me, regardless, that was still positive, like mental attitude. Like I always had a positive outlook on life. And I've read back over journals and diary entries from when I was a kid, and I was always as aspirational as I am today. And I always saw the bright side of life. I never looked into the darkness, and I don't know what part of my personality or how that happened specifically, but I know that I feel very fortunate to have had that regardless of the circumstance.
Yeah, well, maybe you've got that, you know, that entrepreneurial thing. You know, they say you're either born with it or, you know, you develop it. And maybe you were born with that entrepreneurial thing, which is also, you know, a bit of you're a go-getter and, yeah, feeling empowered. So maybe.
I was definitely born with a spark. That's always been with me. The same spark that I have today. It just got sometimes the habits that had formed around that would get in the way. And then when I learnt a lot about that, I realized that it was going to have to be a conscious effort and potentially more of a challenge and a little bit more energy to stay on track. But habits can always be changed.
So as an adult, sorry to cut you off, Deanna. As an adult, are there certain things that have helped you? Like, you're talking about education, mentors, networking groups. Are there things that you've done and that you could tell others about that are also looking to help them find that empowerment in themselves or become more empowered?
Yeah, I mean, for me specifically, all of the things that you mentioned have played a part. I had a love for learning. I struggled at school because I don't learn well in a conventional environment. I have ADHD, and I'm quite creative, and I just struggled with daydreaming most of my academic life. But I love to learn, and I knew that I was very good at it. And so when learning is delivered in a way that I can absorb the information, I can do it very fast. One of the blessings in my life specifically, though, is the fact that from a young age, I was fortunate enough at 4 years old to start in the performing arts. And it was a career that I nurtured since a young age. My parents were always very supportive of that too. They never had any expectations of me to be anything specific. Their message was always, whatever you do, do it properly.
Okay.
And so I chose to do that well. And from learning a skill or multiple skills, but specifically singing was the one thing I specialized in, from learning a high level skill and learning how to train things past the level where people don't generally have the patience, especially today, I learned self-discipline. And self-discipline to me is very empowering, because I know that even if you feel like you're way off track, from this practice of self-discipline, showing up, you could go through months where you feel like you're showing up every day and you're getting nowhere. And then all of a sudden you just wake up one day and you look back and you realize how far you've come. And so then you let go of the need to have this day-to-day achievement and the instant gratification, and you start to focus on long-term gratification. And I guess that really, for me, that comes through self-discipline.
Yeah. So, gosh. Yeah, and I mean, you just touched on there's times when you feel empowered and when you don't feel empowered. So it's not inherent, like you don't have it all the time. Or, I mean, you sounding like you actually do feel quite empowered all the time. And even in your disempowerment moments, you feel empowered. So you've actually, I think you've got quite, do you feel so you empowered all the time? Or?
I think that's just because we're like, I don't know how else to put it, but we're pretty like,
I think it's just the mindset. It's like, a lot of people can think that bad things happen to them all the time, but bad things happen to everyone. It's just how you see that and how you respond to that and the opportunities that you see in it. And if you just think it's like, oh, well, it's me, all of these bad things are happening to me and my life is so hard, and that's just the way that you see it. But like we've both been through divorce. I've lost my mum at an early age, and we've had a lot of challenges in our lives, but I don't see those as challenges in the way that a lot of people would feel disempowered by those experiences. I think, what have I gained from that? What are the blessings in those, or what are the opportunities, or how can I learn from that experience? And I think that in itself is an empowering state of mind. So maybe it just is that we're empowered in every moment, the good, bad, and the different.
I actually think it's stubbornness. I feel like we both have stubbornness.
I am stubborn.
Shall we call it stubbornness now, not empowerment?
Yeah, to be honest with you, like, for example, with COVID, hitting last year, for example, and being in, a brick and mortar business for 12, going on 13 years this year, myself, I was like, there's been multiple times over, those years that I've thought, is it time to close this chapter? And I never had. And then COVID hit, and it was like, okay, well, I'm an in-person business. And I was like, there ain't no way that any pandemic is going to close down my business. I decide when I close down my business, thank you very much. And so I pivoted it, and it was, more successful because of the stubbornness of like, I am in charge of me.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we're both the same, and that could potentially be empowerment. It's like, ain't nobody going to tell me what to do.
Yeah, we get to decide.
Yeah, maybe empowerment is actually encompassing a whole, and I guess that process of becoming more stronger and confident is all these elements together. We'll finish shortly, although we'll talk forever. But Michelle, in your coaching, you must come across clients that, they're feeling pretty low about themselves. So what do you suggest to them to, go and get that boost, go and get that confidence, go and, feel that empowerment, put those arms on your waistline, and I can do this. So what do you suggest to your clients?
The first thing I would suggest, if you're feeling that a lot, is go and get a coach. Surrounding yourself with someone who is empowering and who has that belief in you before you have it in yourself is a really empowering place to be, and it's a beautiful thing to have around you. I think a lot of people have been brought up in disempowering families through no fault of their parents, because they've been probably brought up in similar ones. It just perpetuates as the generations evolve. And so to step outside of that and surround yourself with people who actually do have a positive mental attitude, who are go-getters in life, who do want to see you also succeed instead of bringing you down, then those are the sorts of people that you need to surround yourself with. It really does come down to that. If you can't get out of that mindset straight away yourself, is to find someone that can help you to do it.
Because often it's not your closest connections that make you feel that way. You do actually have to go outside that circle to find someone else that actually believes in you, because sometimes they know you too well, and they know you from a long time ago when perhaps you weren't wanting to achieve as much as you want to achieve these days. So it is important to have that network.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, just be inspired with some others. But hey, listen, I could chat with you forever. But you have a free group that people can connect with and keep in touch with you girls and get some more information about your digital marketing agency. So how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, so on Facebook, we've got a free group called Digital Marketing Hacks. And in that group, we give away a lot of free information around the digital marketing work that we do, around tips that we have that we're using in our business and in our clients' businesses. We give away information around the types of software and programs and things that we use for lead generation, for building funnels, for making things beautiful online.
Yeah.
And then also every Friday we do this Facebook Live in the group, and it's called the Digital Cocktail Hour, a DNM.
I love it.
Yeah, called it a DNM with DNM. So a deep and meaningful with Deanna and Michelle.
Oh, fantastic.
And we're having a lot of fun with that. And so people can come on there and ask questions if you're wanting to scale your business, if you're wanting to go online, if you don't even know what digital marketing is, you can come on and learn about that and ask questions. And we're an open book and sharing and supporting people to grow their businesses. And also we do a lot of, we talk a lot about, empowerment and personal growth and things like that, because that's just the way that we are. So that comes through as well. It's not just all the digital geeky tech stuff.
No, as an entrepreneur, you are your business, right?
Exactly.
So,
yeah. But you touched on an interesting thing then, and valuable thing, because when you're starting out, and like I know when I started out, I was a flight attendant, so I didn't know anything about business. My dad had a business, my husband's got a business. And you're hesitant to ask any questions really, but you have to. But to have all that information that you can connect into and learn perhaps on the sidelines, so you can then actually ask a question and you feel as though you're asking a decent question. So that's really valuable. So thanks so much, ladies.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm going to go on and enjoy that and join that free group.
Yes, do.
So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Take care.